I hear these people say shit like, well, I'm just waiting for the right moment, or it's not the right time for me to do the hard thing. My girlfriend's thinking about breaking up with me. That's right, she's making the right decision.
Correct.
This happened, that happened. There's all these excuses, and they don't want to go do hard shit while they're dealing with other hard shit. For the people that win titles or do, very significant things that are the top people in the world at any particular endeavor, on fight day, you'd thank the heavens if you were like 85%. If you're feeling 85% good after whatever accumulated injuries that you got, well training and well learning to do your craft at a high level. With all those accumulated injuries, after a weight cut that didn't go perfect, you had to travel across the world maybe, and whatever other crazy shit happened, a bunch of media interviews and a bunch of shit talking, and wouldn't you thank the heavens if you were like 85% of your ideal self?
It'd be great, and that's the real thing, is that doesn't pull them out of the process, right? And again, those negotiations, everybody comes in, and it's much more of the outside influence that I actually worry about. The people saying, oh man, you cut 20 pounds, that's hard. You gotta be like, yeah, it's tough. But inside you go, whatever. Derek's saying that door presents itself at all times. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason you can't do it. Both positive and negative, there's always a reason. It's how you react to it that matters.
If you don't have $1 million yet, you're living a much lesser life than what could be easily available to you with the right guidance. My head coach has freed up a few spots in his calendar to hold one-on-one strategy calls with the highest quality applicants. If you're doing well already and you're looking to accelerate your momentum and do even better, click the link in the description now and apply for your strategy session. More at the end of this video.
Well then, I found this guy on the strip somewhere. He seems to know a little bit about fighting.
Just a little.
This is Greg Jackson for people who are not MMA enthusiasts. And Greg is, I just have the short list in my head, but he's been a coach for something like a dozen UFC champions of Andrei Arlovsky, Frank Mir, Holly Holm, Jon Jones, George St-Pierre. Who else is in there? I'm sorry, I'm doing
Carlos Condit, it doesn't matter.
There are several more. And so anyway, Greg's one of the most respected coaches, runs a gym called Jackson Wink, and built that gym with his business partner, 30 years? 30-something years?
30-something.
And anyway, he's been, as immersed as you could be in the fight community forever. And it's a person that I've had some pretty interesting conversations with about, patterns that you could identify in people that are about to fuck up their life badly. Patterns of success, patterns of failure, maybe that's a nice way to say it. And thought I'd bring him to share a few thoughts with you folks. And I think, maybe a bit unorthodox way to start, but one thing I asked a while ago, and you were in Chicago with me, and maybe you remember your answer, but if no problem if not. But
I asked, lots of hits to the head.
I asked you, you've been around so many champions and people and we were just talking about this in our last talk here. You've been around so many champions, and what are the patterns that you see of somebody who's going to do well persistently or stay there, or what are the things they do to that up that is hard to come back from? And what I remember you mentioning at the time is that as far as mistakes, that if you could be on the top of the world and maybe you have a divorce is a somewhat common thing, that you have traumatic changes in your life. Maybe you go through a divorce. You say, well, you can manage that, and they can work through that and tend to do pretty well and continue winning. Maybe they have a drug or alcohol problem, and if they're serious and they want to keep doing well, then you could fix that and they could continue winning. Do you remember what you said the worst up is, or the worst thing that can happen that causes failures?
Positive energy usually is the mess up. So I'll share. Do you want me to share a little bit of that, or should we move from?
No.
Okay. So I will tell you this, guys, and I don't mean positive energy as in you enjoy what you're doing. I mean outside positive energy. So the thing that makes you the weakest, as far as champions are concerned, is believing your own hype. When you start to become successful, when you have your friends and family telling you that you're great, that you're a genius, that you're, oh, how did you do this? How did you get all this? That, to me, is the biggest stumbling block. The negative energy fighters can deal with all day. If people tell you guys, you can't do this, you can't do it, that's fuel to a fighter. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show you. That puts a chip on your shoulder, and that chip on your shoulder is power. You wanna show everybody how great you are. When those same people tell you, you're the smartest guy in the whole world, and you're a human being, so you can start out being like the fake humble, like, oh no, you take that for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and on the fighting level, guys, it's, thousands of people telling you that. That's what gets you complacent, right? Complacency will kill you. Does anybody know who Steve Irwin is, guys? The crocodile hunter? Yeah. So his dad told me the coolest thing ever, and it was that. It's not the animal that gets you, it's the complacency that gets you. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think that is, when you become complacent with success, then you didn't really achieve what you could have, right? Because you've already got what you were after, which is all that positive energy. So if you're in it for just that, if you're just in it for the positive energy, you're never gonna be successful, in my opinion. Or you will be up to a point, but you're not gonna reach your potential. So what I usually see is my champions get to a point, and if they don't know how to deal with that success, what does that mean, dealing with success? That means dealing with that positive energy, dealing with people that are telling you, hey, you've arrived. You don't have to work hard anymore. You're here. I call it champitis, because it is hard to get on a sand dune and run that thing over and over and over. And if you can be successful without doing that, you'll tend to move that direction. What got you to be successful wasn't that, though. It was the work ethic, it was the drive. And the guys that stay at the top, and gals, that's what they have. Like, you're not gonna pull them out of that. You're not gonna, just by telling them they're great, they might go through it a little bit, as we all do, but that work ethic under success is hard. And again, I believe the theme is negotiations we're talking about. That's a negotiation.
That's what they tell me.
That's the negotiation, though, right, guys? That is, you begin to negotiate with yourself in a negative way with positive energy, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense when I say it like that until you break it down and you go, yeah. When you are successful and people tell you are successful, and if that's what you crave, is other people's adoration, you're only gonna go so far, because now you have it. And when you achieve it, where's your motivation?
Well, that's cheery.
Yeah, don't be successful, guys.
As soon as you get what you want, some of you will it up.
Right. And it doesn't feel like you're it up. It feels like you're just settling. But I watch everyone decline. Every fighter that I know that hits that ceiling and gets that, and then that's what they wanted the whole time, they don't continue to evolve. They don't continue to grow. And you can watch it. You're like, oh, remember when that guy was great? Why is he losing all the time now? Even before their prime is gone. That's because they hit their ceiling. They don't need to grow, right? They have everything they want. When you have everything you want, that's when you're the weakest, right? That's when the ground seems the safest. But really, what you should want, at least in my opinion, when I look at our successful people over and over and over, talking about following the line of pattern recognition that we were talking about, that pattern is that's great. Like they're human beings. If you tell them, like any of us, hey man, I really like your work, and you say thank you very much. But if you take that to heart, then that becomes more important than what you were doing in the first place. And that's no good. It's very, very much like talking to a girl or a guy, if you're a girl, and like that's good enough. Oh, like they know who I am. No, you want to marry them. You know what I mean? Like, and once you marry them, you don't want to just be the guy that sits on the couch. You want to keep them. To me, that's the way I look at it. There's a great saying that rent is due every day. Like, it really is. And that's success to me. Then at the end, when you're too old to do anything else, you can look back and say, oh, you know what? I did it all the way. I went all the way. There's a great poem there's a great poem. I don't know if any of you guys know Bukowski, but there's a great poem about intention for success. that I think you need to go back to when you have to negotiate with yourself, right? Because we're talking about, and we'll talk about some harder negotiations that you have to do yourself. But the first negotiation to me starts with intention. Like, why did you intend to? Why are you guys sitting here? Why? Is there a reason? Yeah, of course there's a reason. You want to be successful. You want to make money. You want to do what you want to do in life. That, however, I'm going to pull this up while I'm talking about it.
I just mentioned briefly, what he was just saying, that if you're concerned about other people's validation more than you're concerned about just conquering shit and being a good man, adding to your value, increasing your value. If you're more concerned about the validation from others, you're going to be very limited. First of all, you're going to pick a lower level group of people to hang out with because it's easier to get their validation. And you probably won't have much success to begin with. And even if you somehow had the discipline of like, no, I'm going to pick a higher level group of people and seek validation from them. It's like, I don't, he's been over training with me a couple times, and if he says some nice shit, it makes me uncomfortable. And I tell him, well, yeah, that's really sweet, but what's up that we can do better here, What do we got to do better with? And I have a strong bias towards, I like it when somebody says something nice once in a while, but I'd rather say, what, you're doing good at this, keep doing that. This other thing, we got to rework that. That's kind of, and they never say it to me quite that way, but that's the way that I imagine they mean it. They just say it a little softer than that. But except for a guy like Andre, maybe he'd be like,
he'll let you have it.
Derek, can I talk to you honest? No, lie to me. He said, okay, Derek, if I can tell you honest, this right here really up. We got to fix this. And that's the best feedback. It's the best feedback as somebody that has world champion results, that's very talented and very smart, and has done the things that you're trying to learn to do at the highest levels. To say hey, this is pretty. You think he'd say that to some guy that he don't like or just some stranger? So that's a statement of of friendship, and also like I'm not only identifying that this is, but we're going to help you fix it. So you want people to give you feedback like that. So if you're concerned about nice words, if you really want nice words from other people, it's not going to work out so great, And for those of you that know a bit about fighting or the history of the MMA or the UFC, it's like who are the people whose names get tossed around as like best pound for pound fighters ever?
St-Pierre. Jon Jones.
Yeah. So he's coached both of those guys. Those are both his guys. And I think Jon, even George St-Pierre thinks that Jon Jones is the best fighter. He said that in an interview recently, that it's just hard to argue that Jon Jones is not the best fighter ever. He just is. And the guy's undefeated. His one defeat, he knocked the guy unconscious. It was disqualified for an illegal strike.
Which was my first fight with him, by the way.
Well, the guy was still unconscious. It's not it wasn't close. There's nothing, the guy's undefeated in 20-something, 24, 25 victories, and just beat up half of my friends, from half of my coaches. He got wins against, probably plenty of people I don't even think of, he got a win against Glover, against Anthony Smith, against Lyoto Machida, Vitor Belfort. I don't know Dominic Reyes, but I know Dominic, he beat Dominic too. Who else he got? Cyril Gahn recently, in dramatic fashion, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Anyway, there's a ton of, the whole who's who of MMA, this guy has victories against, and defended his belt 15 times or so.
Something like that.
Something ridiculous. He's like 23 years old when he won that belt. And he's, I seen a quote from him, I'm probably paraphrasing, but he's responding to some people talking shit on the internet. And he says, I've been hearing for years that, so-and-so is going to beat Jon Jones, they're going to beat my ass, they're going to do this or that to me. And he said, I'm so old, I got mostly gray hair in my beard, and nobody's done that yet.
That's right.
He got a lot of gray hair. He's been hearing that so long, he got a lot of gray hair in the process and still undefeated. So in any case, I don't know Jon, actually. I know George a little bit. I've talked to George a few times. I don't know Jon Jones, but I suspect he's not a person that cares too much about, the external validation. I think he kind of marches to his own music and does his own thing. I don't think he's too concerned about that.
Well, this poem I've actually read to him. As a matter of fact, I read this to a lot of my fighters at the beginning of when I start working with them. It's a very short poem, but to me, it exemplifies, if you are going to be that kind of level of successful, what it's about. It says, if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It can mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it. All the way, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It is the only good fight there is. So that intensity, guys, that level of nothing pulls you out of that process is what I program in early. We've got a fighter right now that I think is going to be right up there with the rest of these guys named Aaron Pico. And he's fighting for the Bellator championship in September, I want to say. And the kid's something else. That intensity, that not being pulled out of the process of acquiring what he wants is the most important thing in his life. That's all he cares about. That's all he does. If anything tries women, whatever, tries to pull him out of that process, he leaves the situation, he gets out. That level is important because what we're talking about now is the positive energy pulling you out of that thing. And how do you get pulled out of it, guys? You start negotiating with yourself in ways that you shouldn't be. You start saying, oh, you make compromises. Well, listen, if we do this, then I can do that. If I do that, you're leaving that intensity, the intensity of that poem, the intensity of that desire. You gotta watch it, man. It's so fast. And it sneaks up on you. And before you know it, you are not the best version of yourself, like Derek was saying, because somebody's pulled you out of there. And my warning today for you guys is watch the positive stuff pulling you out of it. Because I don't think anybody in this room doesn't respond well to negative energy, right? We just do. If you're a fighter of any kind, I don't mean a physical fighter, I mean a life fighter, somebody in life that fights, that doesn't accept, that pushes back. You guys eat negative, can we cuss up here?
I hope so.
We eat negative shit for breakfast. That's our fuel. So be careful on what will actually make you fail then, because it's not going to be negative energy that makes you fail. You think some lady or somebody telling you, oh, you guys can't do it, and you'll be like, oh, shit, I guess I can't do it. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Nobody in here is that. So what's really going to do it, guys? What's going to stop you from doing what you want? Partying hard, right? Being a dumbass, that can do it. But really, you're going to recover from that probably, unless you have a real addiction. What really does it time and time again, and I can tell you from experience, is people telling you what you want to hear. People telling you, oh, you got it, man. Oh, you're great. And I don't mean, if somebody comes up and fans on you, that's fine. It's not them, it's you. Your reaction to what they're doing. If you're comfortable with who you are and you know what, no matter what I'm gonna push, then you can be very gracious to those people. Oh, thanks, Sure, I have 17 boats, but I could always use 18 boats, whatever. That is the attitude. But if you go home and go, hey babe, some guy said that I'm really smart and you're done. You're done. I don't know why you're even here if you're doing that. So be careful as to where that is going to happen. And where it actually happens is in these weird negotiations with yourself. So I have a great saying, and I don't know if I've shared this one with you yet. When you're in a hard knockdown, drag out fight, and all my champions, all of them have been there, there's what I like to call a door appears. This door appears. And the door, so you guys have to imagine what it's like to be in a fight with a high-level individual, right? This person is extremely smart, extremely talented, And his job is to knock you unconscious or rip your arm off or whatever. When you are fighting somebody and it is close, in other words, you're not dominating him, you're smashing him up, he's smashing you up, third or fourth round of that, you can start looking for a way out. And that's why I say the door appears. The door appears.
I was fighting Dominic Reyes, and it was in round one. He hit me with like a spinning back kick to the face, and then he punched me in the stomach, and I hit the floor, and it was technically a knock. And even the look that he had in his eyes, and the way he talked to me before the fight, telling me he was a multi-sport athlete, and he wasn't afraid of me, and that he believed that it was his destiny to beat me, and all this type of stuff. I got in the fight with him, and he was giving me a true run for my money. He was the only other person to do it to me outside of Gustafsson. And I remember thinking to myself, you may have met your match, Jon. That's what like a voice said to me right in the middle of the cage. It was just like, you may have met your match. And as clear as day, I saw a door. I saw a door in the octagon. And it was just like, hey, you've had a great career. You've done a lot of great things. This kid, he wants it. He's hungry for it. Jon, it's okay. It's okay if you come up short in this one. Like, just don't let him knock you out. But you can just kind of skate through this one and let him have it. Let the kid have it, Jon. And then I thought about that like flying and never coming down. It's a decision. It's a decision to give up on yourself. And something just as clear as that other voice said, "F that."
Who you are as a person is how you respond to that door. And how would you respond to that door? Like, why would you, when you guys say it here in the nice warm room that we're in, it seems crazy. Like, oh, I would never quit, bro. I'm always going to push hard. Yeah, that's all nice and good until you're taking shot after shot. And you're like, I'm always going to, okay, that really hurt. Like, that right there, that really hurt, that's negotiation. You begin to do what I call a false logic circle, where you say to yourself, all I have to do is open this door, step out, and the pain stops. But it doesn't. It just starts. Because the pain of losing should be way worse to you than anything else. That's that poem again. What does he talk about in that poem? That means sitting on a park bench if that's what it means. That means not eating for 4 days if that's what it means. Those are the prices that you're willing to pay. You won't go through that door. You won't say, Because that negotiation begins. Like, if I just open that door, don't open the door. Now, if I just open the door, then I don't have to feel that anymore. You will, at some point, run into that. If you haven't yet, you will. And somewhere in your life, somehow, that door presents itself where you can just open it and step out. How you respond to that door defines you as a person. Let me repeat that. It defines you because that's all that matters. The rest of all this stuff for me is just show. Who are you? Do I want to kick a door down with you? Are you a person that when that door presents itself, you walk out? Because you'll never be successful. But remember, it's not just the negative pain that makes you want to, it will also be people telling you you're good. Man, you're all right now. You don't have to worry about it. Walk out through that door, it's fine. You start your negotiation. Oh, maybe, you know what? I have been doing this a while. You know, I've got my first million. Maybe that's enough. If you're here now, if you're sitting in these seats, that shouldn't be enough. Because it's not the million that matters, it's the process that matters. It's the fight that matters. It's who you are as a person that matters. The rest of that is just rewarding your personality, being smart enough, learning enough, being driven enough. But if you set your intention now, don't change it when it gets nice and don't change it when it gets mean. Because that's when the negotiations come in and it's all false negotiation.
When somebody wins one of those fancy championship belts, is that because everything just magically aligned perfectly in their life and, it was just the right moment and the right blah, blah, blah? I hear these people say shit like, I'm just waiting for the right moment, or it's not the right time for me to do the hard thing. It's not the right time. There's a lot going on in my life right now. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend's thinking about breaking up with me. That's right. She's making the right decision. This happened, that happened. There's all these excuses, and they don't want to go do hard shit while they're dealing with other hard shit. And I think for the people that win titles or do, very significant things that are the top people in the world at any particular endeavor, on fight day, you'd thank the heavens if you were like 85%, if you're feeling 85% good after whatever accumulated injuries that you got, well training and well learning to do your craft at a high level. With all those accumulated injuries, after a weight cut that didn't go perfect, you had to travel across the world maybe, and whatever other crazy shit happened, a bunch of media interviews and a bunch of shit talking and all the things that happen. Wouldn't you thank the heavens if you were like 85% of your ideal self?
It'd be great. And that's the real thing, is that doesn't pull them out of the process, right? And again, those negotiations, everybody comes in, and it's much more of the outside influence that I actually worry about. The people saying, oh man, you cut 20 pounds, that's hard. You got to be like, yeah, it was tough. But inside you go, whatever. Like, as long as like Derek's saying, that door presents itself at all times. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason you can't do it. Both positive and negative, there's always a reason. It's how you react to it that matters.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you the pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.